Okay, now we are going to use the pandrew utility to diagnose issues with many keys. This utility is available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. With the keyboard in its normal horizontal position, and with all keys properly installed and tested, plug in the keyboard, load the utility program, and click Signal Level Monitor. Then remove the keys at issue using your wire key puller. Use your fingers to move the spring to make sure it moves freely and make sure the flipper is not stuck. The flippers would then freely make contact with the PCB. If you see the middle number of the 3 numbers for each key being a solid green when the flipper is left alone, very close in numerical value to the bottom number for that key, that means there's an issue with the installation of the key or of the spring. See if the flipper moves freely and the middle values change when the key is removed if you rotate the keyboard vertical, spacebar side up, and then flat. Here's how the matrix should look in the QMK utility after you have pressed each key one time and opened up the signal level monitor window in the pandrew utility program. The keys that stay red represent pads without flippers, which may vary based on your layout. If the middle row changes to green without an installed key, that means you need to adjust the spring by following all the steps detailed earlier. Removing and reseating the key again and again without doing anything else is unlikely to fix this problem. If you see something like this example, indicating a bad matrix row, then you'll need to do some touching up of the solder. As you can see, the traces in the keyboard controller matrix do not correspond to actual rows of keys. Now switch to the matrix view. In the matrix view, you may see 3 press signals. These are not actual keys that are pressed. There may be 1 key in the 16th column for F62 and F77 keyboards, the bottom right physical key on the keyboard. With this view, you can more easily see if a row or column is damaged. If many keys read 0 for the value, then there is possibly a short to ground, and it is best to add a couple layers of insulating tape to the bottom of the controller where the ribbon cables are. Polyimide or Kapton tape, electrical tape, etc. This is more likely to happen to the ultra-compact cases as they are bounced around in shipping, and the ribbon cable may break through the factory-installed tape and contact the keyboard case bottom. Sometimes the ribbon cable wire has broken through this tape and is touching the case. In this situation, you would see the problem go away when the keyboard inner assembly is outside of the case. While the controller is installed and the keyboard is upside down with supports on either side, such as a book or a block of wood, so that the keys do not get pressed, push down on the part below the controller with the ribbon cable, so that the ribbon cable end of the controller moves a little closer to the bottom inner assembly plate, so as to move it away from making contact with the bottom of the case. If the row or column reads a value higher than 0, for example 110, but does not respond to key presses, then maybe the row or column needs more solder applied to the through hole on the controller and or on the capacitive PCB. This also unfortunately does happen after these keyboards are bounced around in shipping, but the good thing is you don't have to open up the inner assembly at this time. It is rare as I confirm each column and row before shipping, but it has been documented. The controller is fine. You just need to add more solder to the holes for the ribbon connections for the column at issue on the PCB side of the components. Just make sure you don't touch any of the components themselves with solder. No need to add solder on any of the other connections unless the connection looks like it needs more solder. If the right control on F62 or the right arrow key on the F77, the bottom right keys, is not registering in the pandrew utility with the key removed, that usually means that column 16 needs to be retouched. These keys are special in that only 1 key is in column 16. Some folks think that the key is broken because it does not register as control when pressed, but did not read the product page, which notes this key is factory programmed to function for some layouts. How do you find out which column or row needs more solder? You can see the traces where the keys that don't work are located. For example, left Alt, right Alt, V, spacebar, M, the key between right Alt and right Control are all on the same trace, even though they are not on the same physical row. You can follow the line in the image and see that they are all connected to the leftmost trace, which is connected to the 3rd through hole from the left. So that would be the area to touch up. You need to add solder from the side of the controller components, not the bottom of the controller. Just unscrew the 2 controller screws and gently bend the controller back as shown here. You should also carefully add solder to the other end of the ribbon cable corresponding to that same wire. You should not open up the inner assembly for this procedure. You should add solder from the side that you can see and access already. Only if there is still a problem after following these steps and retesting should you open up the inner assembly and remove the large capacitive PCB to inspect for shorts Do two keys press when you press one key? Occasionally, there will be a solder bridge connecting two rows or columns together, either somewhere on the PCB or the 30 through holes at the top of the board. Just remove the bridged material carefully, and then all will be well. Most likely the bridge is on either end of the ribbon cable wires, but occasionally it is on the large capacitive PCB itself, as shown here. Another example, if the keys 2, Q, W, A, S, Z, X, and left Alt do not work, then the second grouping of columns in the matrix should be looked at. You can see that the 14th through hole from the left connects to the column that includes all those keys. So you would solder that through hole on both the front side of the controller, unscrew the controller, and if that doesn't solve the issue, also add some solder to the accessible part of the large capacitive PCB. You don't have to take apart the keyboard for this. Just add some solder from the bottom side that you can still access with the inner assembly upside down.